We're on the top floor of the Barge House in probably the most distressed part of the building. The roof actually looks like it could collapse at any moment. One of the things I tried to do with some of the Australian artists was to see whether anyone would come up with a site-specific installation. And Lyndall Phelps, who is with me at the moment, rose to the challenge. And we have this rather enigmatic piece, which is titled An Economic Fable. Lyndall, perhaps you could talk us through it. Yes.
Okay. It's very much a work that's in response to the site visit that I had with Paul a few months ago now. And there were two things that came out of that. One was the nature, the ruined nature of the building, which I really loved. And the fact you kept apologising for the building, saying, I'm really sorry. Okay, no, it's fantastic, don't apologise. And one of the things I was quite keen to do is to make something that was visually quite a juxtaposition to that was quite opulent visually. The other factor that came into it from that day was that out of curiosity I went up to the top of the Oxo Tower, because everyone says you need to go to the Oxo Tower, it's a fantastic experience. And it was a real letdown, because it was full of people that were obviously there to do lunch, and I wasn't. And to even get access to the viewing platform, I was kind of treated like a second-class citizen. So I had this really overwhelming sense of an area that was full of this kind of false wealth in a way, where I was kind of going into somewhere for an expected experience, and then it was a real letdown. So they were in my head before when I left, and then I started to do some research on the history of the building and found out that in the 1970s part of the building was used to make long eggs, which is a rather odd thing, but essentially a long egg is a prefabricated egg to look like a log, and it goes inside gala pies and terrines, so that when you cut it up you get a
You're guaranteed a slice of egg.
A slice of egg inside it. So I'd already been thinking about the goose that laid the golden egg in relation to the kind of, I guess, the false economy that we have today, and also this that I associated with this area. So it just seemed to make perfect sense to go down the egg route. But I didn't want to make long eggs. I wanted to make fake eggs, but not long fake eggs. So the eggs here are actually dummy chicken eggs that are plastic, so they're kind of used to trick chickens into laying. And so everything's been embellished in a kind of slightly over-the-top way, but also a very tacky way. And the fact that the materials are very kind of understated, nothing is expensive or wealthy about materials, but at first glance you might think that. And then if you spend time looking at it, you realise that it is only painted egg trays and kind of cheap stick-on diamantes on the eggs.
And you were quite insistent that this was the space that you wanted to show in. You could have easily shown in the main body of the space, which is huge, and privileges large-scale sculptural installations. But this completely abject, this is probably the space that I was apologising for, this completely abject sort of room that looks, it's gone beyond distress. This was always the key, this was always the space that you thought about for your project.
Well, there was this space and the columns, but actually it always came back to this space. And I like the fact that it was probably the most distressed. And I love the window. And I always knew the piece would need to have an element of natural light to play with that kind of slightly garish surface quality of the work. And it's intimate, and it's a small scale work in a way that would have been quite lost in the other spaces. And I love the way that people stumble across it. You just don't really know it's there until you come up to here, and then if you do happen to glance to your right, you'll kind of see it.
It's a little bit like a side chapel in a church. You suddenly come across this sort of ornate.
Which again, I suppose, links in with that whole sense of this aspiration of wealth. And you think of side chapels in churches and the use of gold and embellishment. So there's probably similarities.
Thank you.